So today we're going to talk about chemical reactions, and then we'll talk about catalysts and enzymes. So first, let's just start with what is a chemical reaction. So a chemical reaction is a process when atoms or groups of atoms in the substances are reorganized into different substances. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that using these pictures. So here we start with this substance called AB. Okay, so this is a compound, it's A and B bonded. After it undergoes a chemical reaction, I now just get A by itself and B by itself. So I start with one thing and I end with something different. Next, I have AB plus C. And when I go through my chemical reaction, I end up with AC plus B by itself. So here I have my atoms, or my groups of atoms, and then they get reorganized into different substances on this side of the equation. A final example, I have AB plus CD. It's going to form AD plus CB. So again, I have groups of atoms. They just reorganize and they form new substances. So when we look at chemical reactions, we would call these equations. And on the left side of the arrow, we call these reactants. And on the right side of the arrow, these are products. And then the arrow means yields. So our reactants yield products. Chemical reactions happen all the time, everywhere, all around us. So think about it right now. You are breathing, so there's a chemical reaction happening in your body when you participate in respiration. As you digest food, your body digesting food undergoes a chemical reaction. When you drive your car and you convert gasoline into mechanical energy, and that undergoes a chemical reaction. And some chemical reactions are spontaneous, and other chemical reactions, they need energy in order to make those reactions happen. So the energy needed in order for a chemical reaction to happen is called activation energy. So this is the minimum amount of energy needed for reactants to form products. So an example I have is if you burn a candle. So whenever you burn your candle, a chemical reaction happens, which converts your candle wax and oxygen into carbon dioxide and water vapor. But candles don't just burn spontaneously, meaning they don't just start igniting on their own, right? If you just put a candle out in your room, it's not going to magically light all by itself. The chemical reaction has to have a certain amount of energy in order to make this reaction happen to convert your reactants to your products. Okay? And that amount of energy needed is the activation energy. So some chemical reactions happen very quickly, like burning a candle, and others happen very slow. And so since this is biology class, we're mainly going to focus on the chemical reactions that happen within a living organism. So inside of like you or any living organism, there are a lot of chemical reactions that are constantly taking place. So when we want to study these reactions, we would replicate them in the lab. The only problem is these reactions can be super slow. Some can take days, some can take hours, some could take weeks, some can take even longer. And so if you're a scientist and you're trying to study a chemical reaction, you may not have days or weeks, or you may not even want to spend hours just watching a chemical reaction. So we use something called a catalyst. So catalysts speed up reactions. And the way catalysts speed up reactions is all they do is lower that activation energy. Okay, so all they do is lower the amount of energy needed to actually make that reaction happen. So if we look at this graph, the blue is like the original reaction without a catalyst. So you need a lot of energy in order to make this reaction happen. A catalyst just brings down the amount of energy needed. And catalysts can be a little bit more complicated. And if you take physical science next year, or you even go on and take more chemistry, you'll talk more about catalysts. What you need to know for this class is just basically the definition. So they speed up reactions by lowering activation energy. And then finally, since this is biology, we're really focusing on only those chemical reactions that happen inside of a living organism. And so we do have biological catalysts that help speed up our reactions in like our bodies or any living thing. Those are called enzymes. Okay, so you need to know this vocabulary word. So an enzyme, it's a biological catalyst, or it's going to speed up reactions in any sort of living organism. And enzymes are essential to life. So we need some of our enzymes to help us properly function as a human. And enzymes names, they are named after what they do. So for example, you have this enzyme called amylase. So amylase breaks down amylose. It's found in your saliva or your spit, and it helps you digest your food. So it helps speed up the reaction of breaking down the food so your body can get the nutrients from it. Another example I have of another type of enzyme is just snake venom. So whenever snakes release their venom, it's the enzymes in that venom that are so harmful to humans or whatever animal it attacks. So that enzyme breaks down the membranes of that person's red blood cells. And that's why some snake bites, some of them can they can really escalate quickly. And it's because that enzyme is really speeding up that reaction of breaking down those red blood cells. So if you look at the bottom of this slide, there's a diagram that just show how enzymes help work in a body. So here's the shape of an enzyme, and enzymes all have a special shape. What attaches to the enzyme are called substrates. So the enzyme is fitted just to help speed up this reaction. So the substrates can attach, and it just speeds up, it helps make that product in the chemical reaction. And then the enzyme is left untouched. So notice at the end, the enzyme looks the exact same that it did before this reaction started. So all it is here to do is just to help speed up and kind of assist the chemical reaction. Once the reaction happens, the product separates and you're just left with your original enzyme.